Hello and welcome to the Good Art Friends, where good friends discuss good art. Jonathan, my good friend, how are you doing on this fine September evening?
I'm good. As listeners of this show, longtime listeners of the show know, many things that we talk mostly about that aren't podcast subject material are usually baseball and hockey.
Yep.
And hockey is starting.
It is. You excited? You're going opening night, right?
I'm going opening night and going to the preseason community game that's coming up this week for general admission. Gonna get in super early so I can sit in the lower bowl the one time a year I can.
Yeah, that tracks. You know, sports are art. Sports are art. Yeah. And what else? Sometimes we end with it, sometimes we start, but we've been doing, we're starting what's good. So what else is good, Jonathan?
What else is good is Saturdays at Your Place just put out their newest album, their second album, titled These Things Happen. I have been listening to it so much, especially What Am I Supposed to Do? And I Give In is also a really, really good ending track for this album. Just a really fun band that's starting to rise up. I mean, again, this is just their second album. They have another EP. They're going on tour, and I'm going to catch them on tour. I'm really excited about that.
Yeah, you've sent me a few songs. I've enjoyed what I've heard. So
yeah,
that's good.
What about you?
Yeah.
Let's go to your end.
I started reading Brandon Sanderson is a very prolific fantasy writer. Have you read anything by him?
I haven't. I need to.
So I started with Tress of the Emerald Sea, partially because I've been intimidated by his that same prolific nature intrigues me, but also I found daunting. You know, the idea of starting with 1,000-page book in a 10-book series or something like that. So Tress of the Emerald Sea takes place he has this huge connected universe called the Cosmere. And it takes place in that universe, but is this just, for him, a short book? It's probably still like 300 pages, but it's kind of this like reverse Princess Bride kind of tale. It's really a light, fun read, and it was a nice way I found to dip my toe in water. And from there I started reading his Mistborn series. I just finished the first one, started the second one, which is this cool, like, he's kind of renowned for his hard magic systems, where instead of, and Mistborn kind of came out of like him watching him watching Star Wars movies and being like, wait, how come Darth Maul can like push a guy and curve him off to the side? Like, what are the rules here? So he creates these universes where, like, so Mistborns, they have these similar like Jedi-esque push and pull and like Jedi mind trick kind of powers, but they're all based on like very specific things. So these people, they're able to, like, it's based on metals and what metals they ingest, and there's a finite amount, and it's all very like laid out in terms of the rules, which makes it, I don't know, just speaks to my autistic brain, but also makes it pretty fun as you get to the back end. Yeah, because you got a sense of just like what the matchup is when there are battles based on what each has. So yeah, I'd recommend, Sanderson.
I love structure. Like, you're selling me. You're selling me.
Yeah, it's good. It's fun. Especially if you're Tress is a good place to start, I think. But then Mistborn, and it's smaller series. There is an original 3-book series, and then my understanding is there's a 4-book series that takes place a bit after the original trilogy, and then there's going to be a third kind of series all within this Mistborn set. Yeah. So Brandon Sanderson, that's what's good this month.
Love it.
Yeah. But we're talking Wind Waker this month. We've teased this for a little while. You finished with seconds before recording.
Listeners, and you have to understand, I rolled credits 5 minutes ago. Literally 5 minutes ago.
I always believed in you. Okay, so we'll do some, as is our, we'll do some like kind of general talk at the front end. And then we'll kind of pause, give people time if they haven't played this, was it 23-year-old video game, then we'll get spoilers on the back end.
Oh gosh, it is that old.
Yeah.
Oh no.
I know. So let's start first, I thought maybe we could do a little kind of check-in. Like you and I got the Switch 2 on launch day, and that's what we've been playing through the, Nintendo Online, the GameCube collection. What are your somewhat but not too early impressions of the Switch 2?
I think that it is comfy. I like the I like the texture of it.
Yeah.
It's very satisfying. It's very satisfying to touch. The larger screen is nice. I haven't played it in handheld as much, mainly just because the only thing I've been playing is Wind Waker, and that has to be played with a controller and not in front of my face.
There.
But outside of that, I love how fast it is. I like that there's a dark theme.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, there's many things that I like.
Yeah, it's, I'm reminded always that Nintendo is a toy company primarily, and it is just a great toy. Now, the original Switch was a great toy, but kind of felt like a toy, whereas this, it still has that toy-like quality in terms of its construction and these little ingenious things. I love how the update Joy-Cons pop on and off. But it also feels high quality in a way that the first Switch, I mean, it might be too exaggerate to say that it did not, but this feels more legitimate in many ways.
Yes.
I
think part of it is the colors.
Yeah. Though I loved the bright colored Joy-Cons. Now you have that classy touch with just almost like the seams inside as it connects, like this little pop of color underneath the well, they're not Hall effects, but the what's the word I'm looking for? The little thumb jigs.
The joysticks.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah.
So you got these pops of colors, which makes it feel a little bit more substantial. But I do somewhat miss the toy nature of the Switch or the absurd Wii U, those kind of things.
Yeah, I love green Joy-Cons, Nintendo.
Yep. Get on it. One of the things that I think has been really fascinating, though, looking back at the last couple months, is I feel like the most legitimate complaint was the price. But with every month in which older hardware, especially the Xbox, but even the PlayStation, keep raising the prices of just this, strange world that we're in right now, it becomes less we've never been in a spot before, as far as I can recall, where consoles are cheapest on release day and then increase in price. So that to me has kind of changed the narrative a little bit with the Switch 2.
Eleanor Shellstrop.gif, this is the bad place.
This is
it's so weird, especially since we're doing a gaming forward episode right now.
Yeah.
Just the fact to look around at the fact that Microsoft apparently doesn't want to be a game company anymore. Sony's the one that's really pushing forward and making games, and they're making themselves unavailable to play, and then everybody just wants a Switch.
Yeah, and then Steam kind of filling in some of that space, which I found kind of fascinating. But yeah, I mean, I will say I started playing Star Wars Outlaws on it, and I'm really impressed with how it handles it. And my understanding was the Steam Deck struggled a little bit with that game, but it runs pretty smoothly on the Switch too. And it's fun that this system now, I can play that game and then I can jump into, last month's topic, these kind of indie, simple, tiny bookshop kind of games.
Yes.
I love having both those. Always before, when you got a Nintendo One, you were missing out on those larger AAA games. And, that's still, I'm sure, going to be the case by and large. But if nothing else, I'm able to play last year's AAA games without, to my eyes, sacrificing much.
Well, I think now, did you watch the last Nintendo Direct from last week as we're recording this on the 23rd? Yeah. It is now a launch console for things. It's getting Silent Hill.
Yeah, it is wild. So it's a good system. No regrets. No regrets. So tonight we're going to talk Zelda. Before jumping into the Wind Waker, I just wanted to, I don't quite know other than little bits about your relationship with like the Master Sword, but what's your history with Zelda games?
My history with Zelda games is that I had Wind Waker on the GameCube when I was a kid, and I loved it, but I am just really, really bad at finishing games. My biggest memory of playing this game is that I got one of the cheat discs from GameStop, and then I put that in, and then I'm like, I want all the orbs, and then I got all the orbs. And I remember I got into the boat, and the King of Red Lions just kept turning around to talk to me and said, "Oh, you did this. Now you have to go do this. Oh, you did this. Now you have to go do this. Oh, you did this. Now you have to go do this." And I'm like, "Well, okay, well, now what? Do I have all the things now?" And even with that, I never finished the game. So, like, this has been like a really fun experience for me finishing this game.
Proud of you, friend. I'm proud of you. Yeah, you start a lot of games. Yeah,
I really do. I really do.
Yeah, but that's for me. So I had this difference in age between you and I, but I played the original Zelda with that beautiful gold cartridge. But then from there, I had kind of a gap. At some point, I played a little bit of Link to the Past, I think just at friends' houses. But I didn't have a Super Nintendo. I didn't have a Nintendo 64. I didn't have a GameCube. So, like, I've never played Ocarina. I've never played Majora's Mask until this summer. I'd never played Wind Waker. And I picked up again where I had the Wii and the DS. So I did pick up. So everything from, in terms of consoles, from Twilight Princess, which is interesting now in light of Wind Waker, onward I played like Phantom Hourglass, Spirit Tracks. I've gone back then and played things like Minish Cap. So I love Zelda. I played a bit, but this was one of those big spots where I'd kind of missed until now. And I think it's an interesting in light of what came before it, and in terms of it coming off of the Ocarina of Time and Majora's Mask, and also I think in many ways what it set up. There's some fascinating parallels between this game and I would say Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom that we can kind of get into. Any other general Zelda talk before we dive into spoilers?
I mean, I guess I don't have any other general talk before we get into spoilers, because really it's just the fact of me playing this game and realizing that all of the links are different.
Yeah, okay, let's talk a little bit first about just, have you ever gone down the rabbit hole of like the Zelda lore?
That was going to be the thing I was going to do before we got on today. But then I read credits 5 minutes before we started.
Yeah, and plus it gets weird and convoluted. And one of the things, we can end the first part on this, but one of the things that in preparing for this episode that similar to Miyazaki is like some of the style and gameplay comes first with a lot of Zelda games, and then they figure out the story behind it. So these people, I love that people try to tack on this like overarching grand, well, to be honest, Brandon Sanderson-esque plotting between all the games with these like absurdly complicated branching timelines. And it's fun to think about, but don't break your brain too much trying to figure it out.
Yeah.
Okay. So let's pause there. And let's say if you have not yet played Wind Waker these last 23 years, go back and play it and then come back to this podcast in, a month or whenever it is, and then listen to our discussion on the Wind Waker. Great game. All right. And we're back. Wind Waker. We can do a little bit of overview talk, and then we'll start talking about the art, the gameplay, the dungeons, all that kind of stuff. So this was sorry.
As I was gonna say, we're here to talk about the zipping Zephyr himself, the hero of winds.
Yes. So this was the 10th mainline Zelda, released in Japan in 2002 and then 2003 elsewhere. With a kind of fascinating development that I think we'll get into. It was about 2.5 years after Majora's Mask. But it was really the last game on that really quick timeline. Miyazaki stepped in and said, like, okay, let's do 4 years afterwards between this and Twilight Princess, which wasn't the original plan, but is what succeeded this. And then ever since then, you got a little bit more space behind the like mainline, the console kind of Zeldas. I mean, there's a lot we can talk about in terms of that development, the original plans, what made it, what didn't. And it was, and this is probably a good place to start, but I think its distinguishing feature is the art style, that anime inspired, which at the time was kind of fascinating, was much bemoaned, which I didn't necessarily recall this too much, but I was looking at, there's a fantastic podcast and video from Legendary Adventures I can drop in the show notes that goes into a lot of details. But essentially, when they're prepping the GameCube, they had this little like Nintendo Direct-esque thing, and they had some demos. And one of the demos was this like gritty, realistic Zelda that was like this next step forward from the Ocarina of Time and Majora's Mask kind of thing. And that led everyone to believe that that's what the next Zelda was going to be. So then when all of a sudden they released the first footage of this cel-shaded Zelda, it was controversial. There was a quote from Electronic Gaming Monthly about that first footage. It said everyone's jaw dropped, some out of awe, some out of disgust, but all in complete surprise at the radical new look. And at the time, that was a lot of the criticisms. But then at a certain point, I don't know when, it seemed to completely flip. And now I think it seems like the art style is remembered quite fondly. So yeah, what are your thoughts about this art style?
I think just for the fact of the reason why they did it this way, and I don't know if they knew this at the time, but they essentially future-proofed the game.
Yes, 100%. Yeah.
Like, you can look at games that were made in this, you can look at Super Mario 64 and say, all right, yeah, this is a product of its time. But for this, like, they went as far as they needed to, and then they didn't have to push that much further.
No, and I mean, you can even jump ahead to 4 years later to Twilight Princess, which is a fantastic game in its own right, and the visuals were quite stunning. But I would argue that right now, Wind Waker looks better and is aged better than the game that came 4 years after it, or even probably after that with like Skyward Sword, because of that timeless, that 2D veneer on a 3D model with the art style. It's utterly charming. And then you get it now because I wouldn't say underperformed, but they dropped, and maybe because of that reaction, they dropped the plan to have a sequel in the Wind Waker style, but instead that kind of went off to the 2D games with Spirit Tracks and Phantom Hourglass, and then later things like Minish Cap. That's where you get that kind of art style continued. But yeah, I thought it was really aged well and allowed for such expression, especially with Link's eyes, was really cool. And they allowed for like these really a lot of like kind of bold expressions and little hints, like he'll look in the direction of where you might want to go and things like that, which I thought was pretty neat.
I love Link's facial expressions in literally every scene, but like really, like you get your first real taste of how they decide to animate him when he gets put into the cannon and shot into the Forsaken Fortress at the start of the game. And that's when you realize what you're really in for. And I love that so much. It's one of my favorites in the game.
That it had this like cartoonish feel to it in terms of, again, Zelda and Nintendo in general always marries the art and the gameplay quite well. So little things like that, those little animations and how he moves, or the cutscenes with the cannons, it's great. And that probably also leads us into the art style. And we can talk about getting into the gameplay a little bit with like the sea and that as the essentially the overworld, which partially again came out of just like what they had. So my understanding was that, it's striking when you think about it, there are no load scenes in this game. And that's partially how they designed, which is wild, on the GameCube, but they really designed so intricately that 7x7 grid on the sea, with it was spaced out enough just so that it could be constantly kind of refigurating, doing it so you don't have to load as you go from one box to the other. But then that led them with like, okay, but it can't be empty. So they dropped all these little islands with small little activities and things to do, which in my head kind of, I think, previews a lot of what you see in, sure, Skyward Sword just up above, but I would say even Tears of the Kingdom and Breath of the Wild with these small little shrines and caves and all that. So yeah, what do you think about the sea?
I loved it. It's so relaxing.
Yeah,
just to sail around and to use the Wind Waker and pick which direction you want the winds to go. I love the cutscene every single time. When I was a kid, I used to think that the camera would go from whichever direction the wind was already going and then go. And then, of course, when you get older, you realize it just goes in the direction where you change the winds to, which is not as fun in your head, but still great and functional. I love just sailing around and the seagulls will come up and will fly along the mast when you're going along the sea. I love the music. I love watching the sun come up over the horizon. It's so good. It's so good. I have no complaints about sailing.
Yeah, it is beautiful. The was it Red Lion, the Lion King, I forget.
King of Red Lions.
Yes, thank you. It was just a really creative way to have kind of shepherd you through it. Yeah, the boats was fun. I wanted more time on Tetra's boat because that was cool to kind of explore and see that larger one. And they picked up a little bit with I think Phantom Hourglass where you can customize the ship. And this left me wanting more. I want like another like big aquatic, now that we have systems that can handle it, really kind of sequel to this that does the same thing but more with the boat and customizations and different islands, because I really enjoyed, I think that mapped on really well in terms of the overworld for the game. Yeah, what were your thoughts on gameplay?
Number one, while we're getting to this on gameplay, and I wish I had gotten to this on the front end of the episode, another thing that I love about Wind Waker is that Link is canonically left-handed in this game.
I never picked up on that. Yeah, Southpaws of the world. I gotta tell my daughter. My youngest is a Southpaw. Yeah. Yeah,
like Link became right-handed, I think, in what they say, Skyward Sword, and then they never put him back.
Oh, he was a lefty in all those before that?
Yes, he's canonically left-handed.
I had no idea. There you go.
On gameplay, though, given that I am extremely fresh with being done with this game, and I had this thought in my head, I do not think that it is a hot take for me to say that it is nice that we are better at making games now.
Yeah, okay, speak on that, because there's a few things in this that, now, on one hand, it's unfair to judge it because it feels so timeless. It feels also like it should play like a modern game, and there's a few things that are like, oh. So what do you have in mind for this?
Mainly just in combat when I'm trying to latch on using the trigger and the camera is freaking out and it's not targeting. When you struggle to run in a straight line and you walk off a bridge just because you're trying to turn the camera. I don't know. Mainly it was just like the small quality of life things. Like the difference between what's the game? The difference between Fallout 2 and Fallout 3 when they let you start running and you didn't have to walk everywhere, right?
Yeah.
So, like those small quality of life things. But it's enough where it's just like when you become accustomed to having that in the games that you play now. All that to say, though, like when the targeting works, it's great. Like you can specifically pull out and just fire and just you don't have to worry about it.
And they kind of, this was early on in terms of, it was interesting with that Z targeting, that like that was something that Nintendo kind of figured out, which was kind of cool. That part does translate well. Did you switch? The camera broke me because we're used to cameras always function a certain way. And this was before that had become a standard.
Yeah.
So I immediately went in the settings to switch the cameras around. Did you?
I did as well.
Yeah.
The thing is that like I've played enough, aerial combat or like mech combat games to be used to inverted controls.
Okay.
But it just still was not going to work.
No, and it was funny though, because you can change that, but then there'd be other things where you'd have to remember, like, no, left means right and right means left as you're playing. But that's...
Yes.
Yeah. But by and large, I thought that the gameplay held up quite well in terms of just how it handled. Yeah, what about the structure of the game? Moving
it was great. It was so good. Just going around, I'm visiting all the islands, I'm getting the orbs, hanging out with Kamali and with Medley, going to see Volu. And I will say that doing that fight again, I think it was my least favorite, the hookshot one. Not the hook one, the grapple one. When you have to get Volu's tail. Yeah, that was probably...
And that was have to go... Yeah. Yeah, and you go back to it later in that Zelda-esque way where they recycle. I remember, wincing when it's like, oh man.
Because that was the worst one.
The controls. Yep. That
was the worst one.
Yeah, it was a fascinating game in terms of the structure, because there's a few parts where, and you read conflicting reports here, where it seemed like there was supposed to be more. The best example is those collecting the pearls. And then the third ones, and the first two, there's a dungeon behind each. And then you sail on up and Jabu's just like, hey, little guy, here you go. And you're like, what? Wait, what?
No, and even more than that is like, Tetra's like, oh, we heard you know where it is. Yes. You get it first. It's yours.
Yeah. And likewise, I thought I loved the twist that Hyrule is underneath, that it's this land underneath the land. But it seemed like it was begging for, it's like, okay, well, let me then explore this world in this very Tears of the Kingdom-esque kind of way. And you read some reports that was in the original plan, but then you read other things from the director that these weren't necessarily scrapped because of crunch, but they just felt like the game was too big and they wanted it to be accessible, and that's why they wanted to kind of keep it a little bit more limited. I don't know which it was, but those two parts just felt like it was itching for, in terms of the structure, for there to be a little bit more. I would have loved to explore more of underwater Hyrule,
That would have been cool. But also, like, if that had existed, I too would have been very overwhelmed about playing this game.
Well, they could have, maybe now is where we transition to the Triforce hunt. Maybe they could just chop 50% off of that.
Which they did when they redid the game.
Yeah, yes, but we're not playing that one, which...
Unfortunately not.
Yeah. But now, so this was interesting for me because I heard about the Triforce shards long before I'd actually played this. What were your impressions of it playing through this time?
Yeah, on the go with the game, as I said, it was great, and it was great until we got here.
Yeah.
All right, first and foremost, right, Tingle? Tingle is a sociopathic extortionist. He's a sociopathic extortionist, right?
Yes, that Oh, and I will say one gameplay thing that was missing, just the wallets needed to expand much quicker because there are certain points, like when you get to the shards, that I didn't know to kind of keep expanding, and that, yeah, the money part definitely did not work with the shards.
Yeah.
But yeah, go on. What else were you saying?
Being capped at 1,000 rupees and then finishing a quest and doing something. I did the Golden Feather quest, right? And I went back to Dragon Roost Island, and the guy's like, oh, here's 200 rupees. And I'm like, I already have 500, so this is just money that I will never have in this game.
Yeah.
No, I used the IGN guide, hunting down the Triforce quest.
Yeah, you have.
I will say I was doing a lot of this game guideless, and then I needed to finish it. So there was that.
And I said, let's get this out in September. And then you turn to the guide. Yeah.
We have a schedule to keep. And it was going great. And then I was like, Triforce chest number 6 is in the Savage Labyrinth. And okay, it's on floor 30.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, no.
Yeah, that one. You know what's funny too? Apparently in the original Japanese game, when you go through all, like, I stopped once I got the charter map or whatever it was. But in the original Japanese, which is kind of shades of getting the Korok seeds and breath, you make it to the very bottom and the reward was 10 rubies. Which is hilarious. They fixed that then when they did it. But
that's a good bit. That's a really good bit.
Yeah, I find that I was somewhat conflicted with the Triforce quest and the shards because the money was stupid. That didn't work. And it completely threw off the flow. But each of those individual things were great. I love the ghost ship was so cool. The secret mazes was so neat. That dungeons going floor to floor, it pushing you to like explore some of those islands because I hadn't there. I just wish there was I wish there was a way to have gotten me to do those things throughout the game. Like if those could have been more spaced out, I would have enjoyed the ghost ship and all those little things and the fishing for stuff. But yeah, it was at this point where it's like, okay, home stretch, Ganon coming for you. And then just the shards just broke me a little.
Yeah, this is one of those things where I was talking about, like, we're better at making games now.
Yeah.
Because this definitely felt like a way to artificially lengthen the amount of time that you play the game. And it's cool to have like collectibles to find, although like these are like forced for you to find them. When I was finishing up this game, it was making me think about how much I really wanted to play Death's Door again. And I remember the first time that I played it, I found all but one of the overworld collectibles without a guide. And it was just me just like, oh, because you needed them. There were seeds you picked up, the plant and pots and specific locations, and that's how you recovered health. So it's like you needed them, but they were optional. You weren't required to have all of them, but it was good for you to find them. And I found all of them except for one without a guide. I'm like, this is really nice. Like, this feels like it was really good game design. It allowed me to explore and go find everything. One thing that I was upset about is that, I don't know if you noticed, and you probably didn't notice until the end. In the pause menu, when you're collecting the shards, the Triforce fills up piece by piece, but you don't know it because you don't look at it.
Right. Yeah. There's a few things there that could have been more intuitive. So yeah, that's of course the big and infamous kind of structural complaint, and it's fair but still fun as long as you know going in, like, okay, pull up the guide for when you get here. I think.
Wait, one more thing. On us being better at making games now. Earth Dungeon, right? Earth Temple. So I told you I was going to have some thoughts about this, right?
Oh, yeah.
Earth Temple.
Yeah.
I show up with Medley, right? We're going to need each other. Do you know how baffled, how stunned, how dumbfounded I was when I walked through a door and Medley didn't come from
Oh, yeah. Yeah. And you have to go back. And there's a couple times where it's like it was back in a way that I did not expect. And you have to go and do things over again. Yeah, that part. And it was a neat dynamic that,
Yeah.
and I forget which other one, that like carrying them with you. And once
The
you
Earth
figure out,
Dungeon.
like,
Yeah, the wind
take them,
temple. Yeah.
yeah, pick them up and do those things.
Yeah.
But yeah, there's a few parts that's just like, ooh, this could have been better.
I have to carry these people through doors. Do they not know how doors work?
That was later Hyrule. That's a different branching timeline. Yeah. But I will say, and maybe we can talk about dungeons now, and especially coming off of, Tears and Breath, where there aren't the same kind of dungeons, and it's a less linear game, so it's got to be planned differently. But yeah, it was delight going through those dungeons, and setting aside leaving them behind doors, the Earth Temple was great. Like the mirror shield was cool.
Yeah.
The Rito puzzles were neat. And the benefit of a more linear Zelda was then in that one, you're using every items in different ways. And I love that. With Tears and Breath, they have to you have to be able to approach puzzles in different ways based on what you may or may not have. But I thought that this game really structured it well in terms of like, okay, when you get to, say, the earth or the wind or, those kind of things, it knows that you're going to have these badass boots and you're going to think of some creative ways to do it, or the Korok leaf and using it to kind of fly or dampen stuff. So I liked having a kind of prototypical Zelda set of dungeons again.
Yeah, I did enjoy that, and I liked the boss fights except for the Volu one.
Yep.
The sand one,
fall off the platform with Volu and then go. Yeah. Oh, the sand one was tricky.
Sand one was a little annoying. Just because of like targeting and then trying to get close enough to hit the thing. And if you don't hit it, then you get swept up. I think the big plant at the forest was my favorite one.
Yeah. And even just aesthetically, that place was so cool in terms of the design. And what do you think, it being fresh in your mind from the last few hours? What did you think of the final dungeon and Ganon battles and all that?
I will say that as much as like I complained about having to see the Volu boss again, I do love a boss gauntlet at the end of games. I really do enjoy that. It's a fun way to recap the game that you played, and it allows you to feel. It allows me personally to feel complete, right? Like you get to go back, you get to remember all the things you did. Because, boss fights inherently can be very fun, and you get to taste those again.
Yep.
You make the climb, and then you get to the fight with Ganon. I will say I did love the different iterations, like Phantom Ganon.
Yeah.
Annoying. I didn't like him when I saw him the first time at the Forsaken Fortress. Although a neat mechanic of how like he drops the sword and then you follow the hilt.
Points in the direction. I like that. That was there were some creative touches with that final one. I liked the puppet Ganon and the strings taking out. I thought that was a really neat touch. I was referring, what do you think when you're saying that you're getting to the end game? I said I would pray for you for one particular phase. What did you think of that snake one kind of thing where you have to somehow
caterpillar?
That shoot the tail? That was tough, man. That was
So let me tell you, right? What I used most often in this game, and what I was so happy about, is that when you're playing the game, you can press the minus button and open the suspend menu and save literally everywhere.
Yep. I used that a lot for that stretch, yeah.
I was saving this game like every 2 minutes, basically. It's like, do something, save. Do something, save.
I do after
Yeah, if I inadvertently jump and fall off the map, I just load.
Yeah, you needed it for that. That was funny. And it's, I remember you telling me when you got the Master Sword, and I think you said this the first time you got the Master Sword in a Zelda game.
First time ever.
Yeah, and it was cool, and that was a great moment. But the light arrows, when you get that light arrow and you have just this feeling of just unmitigated power, that was one of my favorite moments in any Zelda game, to be honest with you.
I haven't felt this strong in a game since I played Destiny 2, and I think it's getting on like 2 years since I played D2. There's a host of reasons why. But like you get an arsenal of weapons in D2 that like they do some really interesting things, allowing you basically to do something and just like swallow up an enemy whole. And it was just so funny just like to pull back the bow and fire an arrow and just watch an enemy just disappear into a column of light.
Yeah. One shot. Oh, that was so gratifying. Yeah, that was neat. And the story, I think, was tied up nicely with the king and Tetra's Zelda. And yeah, I enjoyed the end game of this.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I don't know. What else? What other lingering thoughts do you have on the Wind Waker?
It's still just the fact that like every Link is different. And that like it was just for me with the fact that you get to name this Link, and I'm like, all right, well, he's not Link then. He just has the spirit of Link.
Yeah, that was, I mean, they stopped doing that. I don't know when. I mean, maybe with this, because yeah, like the old NES Zelda, like, yeah, you put in the save file and there'd be the queue. What was it? Like if you put in Zelda, it would jump you to like the second version, stuff like that. But yeah, that was a neat feature. Now you get to name the horses, but not Link himself.
Yes.
Yeah.
I do have fun naming the horses.
Yeah.
I saw recently that on the Tears of the Kingdom subreddit, somebody fused a carrot to their shield, and the horse followed the shield and then eventually ate the shield because the carrot was attached.
Okay, you know what? Let's use that as a way to land the plane with what from Wind Waker would you like to see in future iterations of Zelda?
That's a good question. I mean, I'm really enjoying the fact that we've shifted into, I mean, like, as you've mentioned very well, that we've got these two iterations of Zelda games. We have the open world, more adult focused games, and we have our 2D isometric that are approachable for all public to play. I don't know. Me, so much with music, I love the focus on music in the game. And like you get that in, I think is it Tears of the Kingdom where you can find all the band members and get them together to play at the end?
It's fun. Humming at the campfire, but it's been a while since we had like an instrument like you have with this or the ocarina, you know?
I don't know, man. Make Link left-handed again.
Yeah. I would like to. I enjoy the art style of the updated Link's Awakening and Echoes of Wisdom, but I think it'd be cool to have one of those, like I said, isometric 2.5D in this Wind Waker style again. And I also would love another kind of aquatic Hyrule. Just without the limitations of a GameCube, I think that would be fun. Like what they've learned from in many ways, you know, Echoes of Wisdom is, you can see how it is in some ways a successor to Tears of the Kingdom. I'd like to see everything that they've learned about these kind of cool open worlds pulled into some kind of aquatic Wind Waker-esque setting. I think that'd be great.
I will say also, in like, you know, I also enjoy that right now, this being a games episode, that we're in a crossroads right now where developers really are the way the stories are going in the media is that media is telling developers that they don't need to listen to the players, right? They don't have to make the games easier. Make the games hard. Like we have Song that came out, which is like difficult, and Celeste is difficult, and those games are praised because they are difficult. That is part of it. I liked Wind Waker because it was not hard.
Yeah, same, especially with every year. One, life getting busier, but also, I'm at this point, I'm past my gaming peak, my friend. Every step is one step closer to the grave, and my reflexes are just not what they used to. Don't make me parry. Give me easy games.
Yeah, and every time that I play Smash Brothers with my 7-8-year-old nephew, and he has these ridiculous skills with the controller because all he does is play Smash Bros. I'm like, all right, am I washed? Am I becoming washed? I don't know, man. I don't like it.
Afraid so. Yeah. Scary thought.
No.
Yeah. It's been so October. I think we're gonna do some sort of Halloween themed episode. We've thrown out the idea of Frankenstein. Maybe there's a new Frankenstein movie by Guillermo del Toro.
Yeah.
Question is whether it comes to a Raleigh theater before it's released on Netflix in November. So if it is, then we might do Frankenstein. If not, some kind of other spooky, spooky themed episode. We'll let you know on Blue Sky. We'll drop I forget what our account is for that, but it's in the show notes there somewhere. Jonathan, any other closing thoughts for our September episode?
Yeah, I'm really happy that I got to fully play Wind Waker, and I finished it on the dates of the calendar of 2025, September the 23rd, because in 2 days, Hades 2 comes out. And that is the only thing that is going to be painful.
I would have lost you if I pushed it back a week. Oh, well, thank you. Thank you, my good friend, for talking about and finishing good art with me this month.
Yes, I fully enjoyed it, and I always enjoy discussing good art with you, Spencer.
All right. Take care, friend.
See ya.